Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom, Most High in Christ. Shalom, shalom, Most High in Christ. We hope that most of you there here at One Nation Israelite School. And with me,
Solomon the Benjamite.
Solomon the Benjamite. Pass it over to him. I'll be back.
Shalom, brothers and sisters of the One Nation Israelite School. Shalom to everybody out there who is an Israelite. I hope all is well in the nation of Israel. I pray that you guys have been trying to keep your spirit strong, trying to endure through. Excuse me. I do know just from talking to a lot of people, just from listening to a lot of our people, we have this problem where we have to, or we feel like it's okay to depend on another nation. More than being self-sufficient. I mean, that's not God. Like, he didn't create us to be, to depend on the other nation, but to depend on him. So that we may be self-sufficient, because through all things he'll give us and he'll provide to us. But we got to keep his bones and commandments. So that's a little topic I wanted to get into. It might not be that long for you guys, but hopefully it's short and it's direct and they get right to the point. So from there, we're going to start off with Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. Give me a minute. All right. So Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I have commanded thee this day, then all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So, as we all know, our nation of people, the nation of Israel, so-called blacks, we're all very rebellious people. We don't like to listen. All the Most High God told us to do if we hearken to his words. And if we didn't, these things shall come upon us. These things shall surely come upon us if we didn't listen. Did we listen? No, we didn't, because of the rebelliousness of us, which led us into captivity. Not only led us to captivity, but it led us to be on this thing here. Because we did not listen to the Most High God, he made us do this. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 45. The Most High God says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, shall overtake you, and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and statutes which he commanded. So once again, you can tell how rebellious we are. The Most High God said it 2 times in the same chapter that we just would not listen to him. And for these reasons, and for that same reason we didn't listen to him, these things have happened. He said, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, meaning we don't need to go serving no other nation and go to them for all things, but we need to hearken unto the Most High God and listen to him, and he will provide for us all things. But since we didn't, therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies. So the Most High God said, y'all wouldn't listen. I made y'all to be a self-sufficient people. Why? Because you serve me, and I will give you all things, all your needs, all things you need, I'm going to provide for you, but you wouldn't listen. But for that reason, therefore, thou shalt go down and serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send, which the Most High God shall send against you. So now we go and depend on our enemies for what? Hunger, food, and then thirst. We go to them for water. And nakedness, we got to go to them for clothing, buying their stores, their manufacturers, their companies, all these things, we got to go to them. And the blunt of all things. When all we had to do is put our trust in the Most High God and the one of all things, we wouldn't have needed them. We would have been self-sufficient. Now from there, let's jump to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 51. He says, and he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, in the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy cattle, of thy kin, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. So he would come in and eat up all these things. And you in the process of eating all these things and taking all these things for us, he made us, the so-called white man, in the servitude we serve. Now we have to go to them for everything. They ate up and took everything from us just so that we'll come back to them. Why to depend on them? We don't need to be dependent on them. But, we depend on other nations. And we don't serve the other nations we went into servitude under, made us not be self-sufficient. When the Most High God made us to be a self-sufficient people. So they came in, they ate up everything, took all things from us. Now look at us. Now we're in that low position. But when you depend on the Most High God, before I go there, let me get 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 3. No, 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 5.
2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 5. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 5, and it reads, not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of God.
Not that we sufficient of ourselves to think that we're more above or that this sufficiency came up of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of the Most High God. But you have to keep his laws and commandments for him to be in order to protect you and give you that sufficiency. But that's not what we do. Just like in the days of Egypt, we went and wanted to be in servitude under Pharaoh, even after he took us up out of Egypt and brought us into a wilderness and promised us these things of milk, honey, a land of those things, of the promised land. We still, even in the wilderness, like, man, we still hungry, man. We came up out of Egypt. We didn't have to worry about this. That's the things now. We over here in America, and we have that same thing, especially our women. I don't need the black man because this, child support, all these things. We're not a self-sufficient people. We're trying to depend on their system, which their system not set up for us. It's set up to fail us. The system the Most High God set up for us was to succeed and be a sufficient people. But that's not the thing how people want to do. Now let me get 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 8.
Shalom, shalom.
Wow.
2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 8. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 8. And it reads, God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that ye always, having all sufficiency and all good things, may abound to every good work.
So 2 Corinthians 9 and 8 just said, and God is able to make all grace abound towards you. Right? So he's extending his grace upon you and his mercy, so that you always having all sufficiency in all things. You have to depend on the Most High God. You can't depend on the people who took you captive and go to them for all things. You are turning your back on the Most High God. You're serving another God. You're making these people a God. That's why the Most High God say, may abound to every good work, which is his works is what? The laws and commandments. You have to stay in righteousness. You have to serve him in order for him to give you these things. If we're not serving him, then who are you serving? Who are you going to serve? Because you're going to them for all things. We should be leaning and depending on the Lord for all these things so that we may grow and be self-sufficient. So in the times we don't have to depend on nobody. But when those times get out of hand and they get bad, guess what? Everybody's going to be looking like, damn, man, when this was happening, when we was a servitude to the one, man, we didn't have to worry about this, that. It's because you never, ever put your full trust into the Most High God. So when things fall out of whack and all out of control, you ain't got no strong foundation to stand on. You didn't build it to be sufficient with the Most High God, so it can make you stable throughout those hard times. Now let's go to Exodus chapter 9 and verse 1.
I'm sorry, what you called?
Exodus chapter 9 and verse 1.
Exodus chapter 9, verse 1. Exodus chapter 9, verse 1 reads, Then the Lord said unto Moses, Go unto Pharaoh, go in unto Pharaoh, and tell him, Thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, Let my people go, that they may serve me.
Right. That you may serve the Most High God. Now, you do know, like, anytime we go into captivity, the Most High God come and save us. He says it's going to be a time when he's going to redeem us again. He's going to stretch out his arm and gather all the scattered together. And he's going to redeem us. So there's going to be a time where he's going to lead us up out of this place here so that we may come and serve him. But a lot of our people is going to have that same mindset that I mentioned earlier about that, when we was here, everything was easy. But damn, did you ever put your trust into the Most High God? He made us a peculiar people to himself so that we may come serve him, not the other nations who we're in servitude to. He will never make it that way. That's why he even asks questions. Who provide for the birds and who provide for the lambs, lions, and sheep? He provides for all that he had created. This is what our people would say. We came up out of captivity still thinking on the things that we got from the people we were in servitude to. How? Let's prove that with Numbers chapter 11 and verse 5. What our people do.
Numbers chapter 11, verse 5. Numbers 11 and 5. And it reads, We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlics. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes.
It's our people. The Most High God took you out of a rigorous, hard bondage and hard captivity to bring you into these promised things that he has promised our forefathers, and to bring you up out of that hard servitude so you don't have to go through that anymore. But as soon as you get out of the servitude, you start thinking upon, hey man, when we was in Egypt, we remember the fish that we ate and you freed. And all the things that these other nations was giving to you during these hard times. The Most High God said, I'll take you out of that servitude to give you more. Why? Because I don't need you depending on nobody. I brought you out of there to serve me. I made you a self-sufficient people, not to lean on other people, but to lean on each other as brothers and sisters. You can't do that in the nation of Israel. Just be honest. You put two Negroes together, and next thing you know, a big fight start out. Like, damn, I could have sworn that was just good. Niggas went in there and tore that bitch up. Our people have to do better. We have to make sure that who we serving is the Most High God, and not the people that we're in captive and servitude to. And it's sad, man. But we do know, but when you depend on the Most High God, he can and will make you self-sufficient. Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 13. Remember, he said, man, in an instant, I can make a poor man rich. I the Lord do all these things. We forget that. We go over here, we become blind, we become dumb. We forget the Father who has made us and created us and made us a great people.
Isaiah 41, 13. Isaiah chapter 41 and 13. And it reads, For I, the Lord thy God, will hold thy right hand, saying unto thee, Fear not, I will help thee.
Right. He didn't say the other nations. He didn't say, Fear not. The other nations will help thee. He didn't say, Fear not. The people who you're in servitude to will help you. He said, But I, the Lord, I will help thee. I will hold your right hand, saying unto you, Fear not, I will help thee. That's the problem. We really don't fear the Most High God. We put our fear in the people that we went into captivity to and servitude to. He told us not to serve none of these people ways, but every time we turn around, we go into those people who serve in their ways, acting like we need to worship their God. But the Most High God, the one and only true God, has told us not to follow these people. We went into servitude because we wouldn't listen. But now he's telling us that it wasn't meant like that. I made you self-sufficient for a reason, not to depend on other people. I made you for my own use. How could you go and turn your back and go whoring after these other guys? And since you did that, now you're not self-sufficient. Let's go to Psalm chapter 18 and verse 3.
Says Psalms 18 and 2.
Yeah, Psalm chapter 18 and verse 2.
Psalms chapter 18, verse 2. And it reads, the Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer and my God, my strength in whom I will trust, my buckler, the horn of my salvation, and my high tower.
That is not our people nowadays. You don't see none of them making the Most High God their rock and their fortress, meaning their foundation, who they lean upon. My deliverer, meaning that everything the Most High God has done, he has delivered us out of many captivities. He's supposed to be our strength, in whom we're supposed to trust in. Because he already gave us Christ to die for our sins for salvation. He's supposed to be our high tower that we can look upon and shine down bright upon us to make us that people. And he's like, these people are worthy. He has loved us so much. He took us out of all these hard captivities just to show us how much he can destroy these other nations right before our forefathers' eyes. But we don't see that. The only thing we see is what these other nations are doing for us, and how they sit up in the seat. When times get hard, you can run to them. You can get money from them. But when we going to start building, leaning on the Most High God and building together and start to come up out of these things so we can be self-sufficient, so we don't need to depend on them for nothing. We know we're in this captivity right now, and we should be wise and use the resources they give us. But we shouldn't make them God above our God to depend on them for everything. You're not self-sufficient. Now you're dependable. You're like a dependable child. But you're not the child that depends on the father who created you. You're the child that depends on somebody who enslaved you, beat the ish out of you, and now say, now come serve us. Eat the crumbs out of my hand. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 29 and verse 11. Man. Oh, Israel.
Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. Jeremiah chapter 29 and verse 11. And it reads, For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not evil, to give you an unexpected ending.
Right. So the Most High God said, for I know the thoughts that I think towards you, which is the good thoughts, because he said, I'm going to take my people out of this place, and I'm going to put them in a better place. I'm going to give my people the kingdom. He said, thoughts of peace, so that I can take all this trouble from you and put you in a peaceful place, that you don't have these tears and this trouble and worrisomes of heart no more. The Most High God said, I didn't create you to be evil towards you, but to give you an accepted end. The end is the kingdom. But our people can't even get along now with each other. That's what makes us, we can't be self-sufficient like that. Get 14 from
14. And I will be found of you, saith the Lord, and I will turn away your captivity, and I will gather you from all the nations and from all the places whither I have driven you, saith the Lord, and I will bring you again into the place whence I caused you to be carried away captive.
So the Most High God was letting us know then, if you come to me full-heartedly and you lean on me and stop leaning on everybody else, like the people leaned on Pharaoh, and like the people went into, as he took us up out of Egypt, we went to make damn molten cows and all this stuff to try to worship except for serving him. But he said, if you turn to me and stop doing these things, stop depending on them, I will be found of you. And I will turn away your captivity. I will bring you out of this place, just like I did in Egypt. All that hard bondage captivity, I'll bring you up out of it and will gather you from all the nations, from where he has scattered us amongst the four corners of the earth, he will gather us back in. And would bring us to the place we was carried away captive, our motherland, according to the scriptures. Not the places where these white people have lied to us and told us that we're from. But where the Most High God said we were from, he will bring us back to them and set us up to be back into our rightful places. Second Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 9.
Second Corinthians chapter 1, verse 9. 2 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 9, and it reads, but we had the sentence of death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God which raiseth the dead.
Right. So you catch it, he said we had the sentences of death to ourselves, meaning we sin. That's how we went into captivity. And we already know the wages of sin is death. He said that we should not trust in ourselves. We cannot trust in ourselves, but we should put our trust in the Most High God. That's when all things will be given unto us. Because the Most High God has the power to raise up the dead. He is the one who delivered us from all these great destructions that was coming to us. But if you ask our people, and you ask, the only thing they would try to say is they believe on God when they really don't. It's just like the times when he brought us out of Egypt. We didn't really depend on God. He showed us the things he did to these people. He showed us how he destroyed them. Even when they cried and was hungry, the Most High God still said, you know what? I'm still going to feed you. I'm still going to make sure you eat. And I'd be damned. As soon as we got up out of there and we got that comfortable, we went right back into the idolatry and the BS. Worrying about how we can worship another people's God, except for the one who created us. Get Philippians chapter 4 and verse 19. I wonder why we keep telling.
Philippians chapter 4, verse 19. Philippians chapter 4, verse 19, and it reads, But my God shall supply all your needs according to his riches and glory by Christ.
It says, but my God, the Most High God of the nation of Israel, shall supply shall supply all your need according to his riches in the glory by Christ. Not of another people's riches, but by his riches. That he sent his son to die for us. He will supply all of our needs, not a little bit of it, but we don't get supplied with all of our needs, because let's be honest, we're not really dependent on God how we're supposed to. When the sun go bad, first thing our people go back is to what these heathen and all the nations have taught them to do. They go right back into those ways and right back into those things. So the Most High God was like, well, you don't need me then. It's obvious that you need these people. That's who you depend on is your God. Let's see how far that gets you. When destruction comes, we're gonna see if they really gonna be there for you. How I was for you in those days that I led you up out of all those captivities. Destroyed those nations in front of your eyes and showed miracles. Even when my son walked upon this earth and did miracles. When there was 5,000 men in front of him and it was just 2 loaves of bread, and he made sure that everybody ate. In Psalm chapter 30, Psalm chapter 34 and verse 10.
Psalms 34, 10. Psalms 34 and 10, and it reads, The young lions do not lack and suffer hunger, but they seek the Lord. Salakia. The young lions do Salakia. Salakia. The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing.
The lion, the Most High God says, even the young lions do lack and suffer hunger. He said, they suffer hunger. He said, but you, O my people of Israel, if you seek on me, you shall not want for any good thing. Why? Because he already told you back in the verse in Philippians 4:19 that, hey, look, man, if you come seek me, I will supply all your needs. I will give you everything. So you won't have to go out there and feel like you need to depend on another nation. But come depend on me, my child, for I have created you. We don't really depend on our Father. We see the other nations and think they are our fathers, like they are the creators. If you did, you'll see us coming together. All our people will suffer, coming together and keeping these laws and commandments, giving the Lord his praises, so that he may come and make us a self-sufficient nation, so that we may build amongst each other, not build against each other. And that's why we fall. Get Psalms chapter 68 and verse 9.
Psalms chapter 68, verse 9. Psalms 68 and 9. Thou, O God, didst send a plentiful rain, whereby thou didst confirm thine inheritance when it was weary.
Right. So the times that no rain was coming down and everything was getting dried up and nothing was growing, stuff for none of the crops was growing, the Most High God heard our cries and sent down a plentiful rain so that it may be nourished and make everything grow, so that it may spring forth, so that we may have food to eat. And the crops of the earth will grow for us so that we may eat. Because we're his inheritance. If we his inheritance, we're supposed to be dependent on him. And in the times when we was weary, because when you're not able to eat, and there's nothing growing in your field and your crops, you become very wearisome. But at that time, even our forefathers knew that, amen, if we pray, we depend on the Lord, and we just keep his laws and commandments, he will make all these blessings come to us. He will open up the windows for the rain to come out from the heavens. That's not our people today. That's not our people today. We're lost people, and we keep thinking that the people who's in this setup kingdom that they set up is the people we need to go depend on. You won't go to no brother if you need a job. See that man out there working hard to get the pen. He can set up his business and help you out, but you'd rather go to the white man job and listen to him and get towed down all this time. You need to go to your brother. So, hey, look, man, brother, we need to be good and together, so that we may become self-sufficient. We can set up schools for our little ones in the name of the Most High God. And it's sad, man. It's a hurt to see the things that we're going through just because we won't depend on our Heavenly Father, man. In Psalm chapter 145 and verse 13.
Psalms 145, verse 13. Psalms 145, verse 13. And it reads, Thy kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and thy dominion endureth throughout all generations.
So the Most High, you 14 too?
The Lord upholdeth all that fall, and raiseth up all those that be bowed down.
15.
The eyes of all wait upon thee, and thou givest them their meat in due season.
So right there it says, not this kingdom that's set up, but it says the Most High God kingdom that he's going to set up is an everlasting kingdom. Won't be broken, shaken, to move. And its dominion, the Most High God dominion, endured throughout all generations. It says, the Lord upholdeth that fall, those that fall off. Those that fall low. The Most High God will raise thee up. And he said, that's the poor. That's us that's way down in these lower positions. And that's low, they call us the lower of the earth. That's Israelite. He will bring us up. In the eyes of us that wait on him and depend on the Lord and really trust in the Most High God, he said he'll give us our meat in due season. You think he's going to do that when the people that don't truly depend on him are people who swear they self-sufficient, but ain't sufficient at all? And it's the things that worry me when I hear our people talk. I just be praying to the Most High God that we get it together so that we can come up out of this captivity, so that we may become that nation that builds, teach our young ones of the Most High God, so that they can build and teach the generation under them the same thing, so that thing keeps going and the sufficiency become better and better. But we're failing because we won't do it. None of us won't call upon the name of the Most High God. They call the name upon that white man. As soon as something get hard, they want to figure out what they can do for you, not what the Most High God can do for you. I pray our people shake that thing off when we come together. And I pray our people do get a sense of urgency to know that you must serve our Father. If not, we're going to be in the same boat and we're going to be in this captivity for a long time. And we're going to have to continue to depend on another people. It's the things I wanted to bring to y'all right now, but I wanted to finish off Isaiah as well, because we was in the last chapter of Isaiah. Now, Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 1. Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 1. Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that he built unto me? And where is the place of my rest? For all those things have my hand made. For all those things have my hand made. And all those things have been, saith the Lord. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word. Even right here saying the same thing. It's crazy. He that killeth an ox is as if he slew a man. He that sacrificed a lamb as if he cut off a dog's neck. He that offereth an oblation as if he offereth swine's blood. He that burneth incense as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their own soul delighteth in their abominations. I also will chose their delusions, and will bring their fears upon them, because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear, but they did evil before my eyes, and chose that in which I delight not. Hear the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word. Your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let the Lord be glorified, but he shall appear to your joy, and then shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord that renders recompense to his enemy. Before the travail, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man-child. Who have heard such a thing? Who have seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children. Shall I bring to birth and not cause to bring forth, saith the Lord? Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, saith thy God? Rejoice ye with Jerusalem, and be glad with her, all ye that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all ye that mourn for her, that ye may suck and be satisfied with the breath of her consolations, that ye may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. But thus saith the Lord, behold, I will extend peace to her like a river, and the glory of the Gentiles like a flowing stream. They shall ye suck, and ye shall be born upon her sides, and be dandled upon her knees. As one whom his mother comforted, so will I comfort you, and you should be comforted in Jerusalem. And when you see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like an herb. And the hand of the Lord shall be known towards his servant, and his indignation towards his enemy. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword would the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination in the mouth shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape and I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations to Rosh, Pul, and Lul, that draw the bow to Tabal and Javan, to the isles afar off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles. And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord of our nations upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord, as the children of Israel bring the offering in a clean vessel into the house of the Lord. And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith the Lord. For as the new heavens and the new earth which I made shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcass of the man that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be in according unto all flesh. Yes, sir. That was heavy. I ain't gonna lie. And it's crazy because just like the class I bought out, he came and backed up those same things, that same chapter.
Right. Get Jeremiah 1, read verse 5.
All right. Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 5. Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations.
Right. So the Lord said, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee.
Right.
And then it said, he says, before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I cleansed thee. You are the nation of Israel. You was cleansed because you cleansed from all the other nations. You are the chosen nation. Then he ordained some of us to be the prophets.
Right.
So with that, what is your mission? Because when he speaks of being self-sufficient, it also goes into the way the brother was bringing out is this: if you're not self-sufficient upon your neighbor, it's like if you're not working with your nation, we're not together, and we're not putting our trust in the Lord, then we being counterproductive to what we were made for, because we were made to be a self-sufficient nation. But like I said, if you ain't building with your nation, making your nation self-sufficient, and your trust ain't in our Lord, our God, then you helping the other nations remain their self-sufficiency. But the part that I'm saying is you helping to sustain this kingdom. And it's direct defiance. It goes completely against what we were here for. Remember, read verse 10.
Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 10. chapter 1 and verse 10. See, I have this day set thee over the nations.
See, we were set over the nations. Go ahead.
And over the kingdoms to root out and to pull down.
To do what?
To root out and to pull down.
Not to replenish their cup every year when the goddamn classes come around.
Right.
Not to replenish their cup every time you get some type of break. You know what I'm saying? You weren't set here to help build and pick up this kingdom and they nation. You were set here to root it down and to tear it down. And it don't mean that we're gonna go out here and burn down buildings and shit. The time coming. It's coming. But that ain't what it is right now. How we gonna tear it down? Read verse 9.
Verse 9. Power on. Then the Lord put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And the Lord said unto me, behold, I have put my words in thy mouth.
He said, I did what?
Put my words in thy mouth.
Go ahead.
See, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root out and to pull down, and to destroy, and to throw down, to build and to plant.
So the Lord put his words in our mouths, and his words, when we go out and speaking, we going to tear down this kingdom. We going to tear down these nations. We going to tear down everything they got. The Lord said he put us here to root out. The roots, I mean, you take the why? Because when you could chop a plant, but if you don't take them roots up, something can spring back up. He said we're gonna root it out, make it non-existent. The number one way you're gonna hit this kingdom that we live in first is by taking your resources back. Stop putting your money back in their pockets. Support your people. Keeping God's commandments. Do you know that if we keep God's commandments, we would cripple the hell out their economy if we just get everybody to stop buying on the Sabbath?
Right.
We will cripple the economy. But we don't want to be a self-sufficient nation. We depend on Egypt. As a fact, every time things, like I said, the Lord said, one of the main ways we were going to become self-sufficient, then we were going to have to work for the bread. We were going to sweat for our bread.
Right.
We was going to sweat for our bread. You no longer. But what do our people do? We would rather wait on government assistance.
Right.
All types of government fundings, everything else. And then like I said, you get into a situation where you fall and it's there and you can take it to boost back up. Do what you got to do. I mean, in the situations that we living in, but we don't supposed to rely on it. We don't supposed to trust in it. That's when you fall into the troubles of woe to the net, trust and oppression. Go get that Isaiah 31. The problem is we won't be a self-sufficient nation because we don't trust each other, but we trust the enemy.
So Isaiah 31?
Isaiah 31 and 1.
All right. Isaiah chapter 31 and verse 1. Isaiah chapter 31 and verse 1. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help.
Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help. This is the land that you living in now, the spiritual Egypt. This is your land of oppression, your land of bondage, your land of captivity. Right. Woe to you who go down to Egypt for help. And you put your trust in this place. Woe to them that go to Egypt for help. When we read, within all things that we need, go back to what you pulled earlier, 2 Corinthians 9 and 8.
All right. 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 8. 2 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 8. And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that ye always having all sufficiency in all things, may abound to every good work.
That you may be able to abound to all good works. The Lord knows that if you truly do his will, he can give you everything that you need therefore you be sufficient enough. Well, only thing you have to do is focus on doing the works, doing the good works. But the fact is, Lord knows if I give you everything that you need sufficiency, you're going to give it back to the oppressors. You're going to give it back to the other nation. You're going to turn into a nigger. You're going to let your people starve. And you know what else you're going to do? You're going to run out there and make me have to put your ass to death.
Damn, so you said something heavy. Just look at the people who done went to college to get the degrees, to get in the high seat of politicians, and get in there and do absolutely nothing for all people.
Sirach. Sirach chapter 12, verse 10.
Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thy enemies.
It says, never trust thy enemies, but you trust in Egypt. You trust in their gods. You trust in the serpent.
It's heavy. Just like Eve did, didn't it?
Correct. And that's what you see with women. I'm a PhD. I got more degrees than a thermometer.
I got my bachelor's.
You see that in the way that our men live today too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They trust in no oppression. That's why you see what I used to call them Section 8 brothers.
Right.
I used to call them, I forgot what I called Chop that day.
Damn, I think you said, something about a project. I forgot.
Yeah, something like that. But basically, like, you just sit there and you're first of the month type nigga. You wait for whatever the oppressor gonna send you. You ain't trying to go out and be no help to your nation. You just waiting on whatever thing you can press to see who will send you a check. Which enemy, which one of the enemies out of the captivity gonna send me a check this week?
Right.
You ain't doing nothing to be sufficient or nothing to help your nation.
Damn.
Read it again.
Heavy hitters. Sirach chapter 12 and verse 10. Never trust thy enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
His iron rusted for no reason.
Right.
It rusts for no reason. You have it, time it's just gonna rust.
Right.
It's just what it is. And that's just like his wickedness. You can sit amongst you all day long and pretend to be cool. They will sit there and make you feel like you have a security blanket. And you put all your trust in them, then I don't know where they snatch the blanket from under you.
Right.
And you dare to drown. Because you trusted in the enemy. You trust in this captivity. You trust in this oppression.
Right. And it's crazy because just like the enemy will come with you with smooth words and all these promises and things. I'll give you this. Only if you serve me. The sweet lips they come with and speak with.
Let's go to Acts. How did they? We was always a self-sufficient nation. We understood how to be a self-sufficient nation. It starts. Right. Let's get Acts chapter 4, verse 1.
Acts chapter 4 and verse 1. Acts chapter 4 and verse 1. And as they spake unto the people, the priests and the captain of the temple and the seducers, and the Sadducees.
Hold on.
All right.
We're going to go to Acts 4 and jump over to verse 31.
All right. Acts chapter 4 and verse 31. So you want Acts 4 and 31?
Yes.
All right. And when they had prayed, the place was shaken where they were assembled together. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost. And they spake the word of God with boldness.
Right.
32. And the multitude of them that believed were of one heart and of one soul. Neither said any of them that all of the things which he possessed was his own, but they had all things common.
See, this is how we become a self-sufficient nation. You have to move selfishness first. Everybody got to stop and count. Oh, this mine, it's mine. We gotta stop and then we gotta spend my money out here, but I want to spend the shit. Yeah, we know you're gonna spend it if we let you spend it where you want to spend it. You're gonna spend it with the oppressor. You're gonna keep lifting his kingdom up when we trying to become a self-sufficient nation. So it says we got to remove the selfishness first, and that's why the Bible tells us go to Sirach.
I should have said. Yes, sir.
Sirach 14 and 3.
Sirach chapter 14 and verse 3. Sirach chapter 14 and verse 3. Riches are not comely for a nigger.
Say what?
Riches are not comely for a nigger.
That's the problem we have. Riches aren't comely to a nigger. Read it, a nigger ass nigga. Like it. I'm gonna read it again. Read it again.
Right. Riches are not comely for a nigger.
Uh-huh.
And what should I'm sorry. And what should an envious man do with money?
Right. It says riches are not comely to a nigger. A nigger is a selfish mother lover. You know what I'm saying? And then it says money to an envious person. What you gonna do? Tell you what he gonna do. He gonna buy everything he see everybody else got, or anything he somebody. You ever seen niggas like that? You be around them, right? And you say something, and then they run to go get it too. Or you, as soon as you say you want to do something, they beat you to do it. What? Right. That's an envious nigga with money.
Right.
But you know, I got these. He got these. Nah, but we're a selfish nation, man. We're selfish, and that's why we can't become a self-sufficient nation. You know what I'm saying? Read that verse again, because I know they just need to hear that a nigger is there.
Sirach chapter 14 and verse 3. Riches are not comely for a nigger.
Riches are not comely for a nigger. That's why they don't know how to do it. They don't know what to do. And you'll see what happens to people like that. That's why we read what happened to the brother and sister in the Bible, the husband and the wife. They end up being put to death. Envious with money. That's an example of it, being niggardly. We can't be a self-sufficient nation like that. Read it again, Salakia.
Verse 3, Sirach 14 and 3. Riches are not comely for a nigger. And what should an envious man do with money?
Go ahead.
He that gathers by defrauding his own soul gathered for others, that shall spend his goods riotously. He that is evil to himself, to whom he be good, he shall not take pleasure in his goods.
All right, so now go back to the verse that we originally came from. 14:3.
Okay. Sirach chapter 14 and verse 3. Riches are not comely for a nigger.
All right, now go back to Acts 4. And 32.
Acts chapter 4 and verse 32.
As a fact, hold on, because get Matthews. Because we're still talking about that nigger and that selfishness that dwelleth among our people that's stopping us from becoming a self-sufficient nation. Get Matthews 19:21. They're gonna use this.
Matthew chapter 19 and verse 21. Matthew chapter 19 and verse 21. And Christ said unto him, if thou wilt be perfect, go and sell that thou hast, and give to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me.
Right, but what happened?
But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful. For he had great possessions. See
what I'm saying? Yeah. He gave his spot up in the kingdom to keep his possessions. He says, to hell with helping my brother. To hell with it. The selfishness got to disappear for us to become a self-sufficient nation. Now go back to 432.
Acts chapter 4 and verse 32. Acts chapter 4 and verse 32. And the multitude of them that believed were of one heart and of one soul. Neither say any of them that all of the things which he possessed was his own, but they had all things common.
Mm-hmm. Jump down to 34.
Verse 34. Neither was there any among them that lacked.
Neither was there any among them that lacked. Why? Because none of them saw anything as they own. Go ahead.
For as many as were possessors of lands or houses sold them, and bought the prices of the things that were sold.
Mm-hmm.
You read?
Yep.
Right. And laid them down at the apostles' feet.
So what did they do with they sold land, they possessions, houses, whatever the case may be. When they got the money or whatever it was they got from those things, what did they do again? Read it. 35.
And laid them down at the apostles' feet.
And then what happened?
And disputed I'm sorry, distribution was made unto every man according as he had need.
No, you mean to tell me, man, I gave more, man. How the hell he gonna get me? I put no, man, that nigga on sold a car, I sold a whole house. No. You can't be niggardly. You gotta really have a mindset of what's going on here. Everybody share things coming. Hey, I got it's just me, man. I don't need all that, and man. I know, man, you put the most in. Ain't nobody worried about all that. You know what I'm saying? It's 3 kids over there. And you know what I'm saying? This household only needs this much. This household needs more.
Right.
This everybody they distribute it according to every man's need. And this is what I'm talking about with us in the nation. We got to learn how to distribute amongst each other. Right. We got to learn to really what it is to be self-sufficient. Stop laboring for yourself and you being niggardly. You laboring for yourself. You only think about your people now. You got to think about the nation. You got to think about the body. So the reason why we can't get to this point because we can get you to build with anybody else except for your own people.
Right.
And that's even with a job. When you go to somebody else's job, you're building for them.
Right.
So we can get you to show up to these people's job every day and build for the enemy and build for his nation. But when it comes to the works that we need to do to build for ours, you become niggardly.
Right. Who shows up? Nobody.
So the Lord is able to turn all the riches to you that you will be able to be sufficient enough to just focus on the work. But your faith got to show that that's what you're going to be doing. Like you can. It's like somebody who's saying, man, well, I can only, I could focus most on the most, I could focus more on the Most High if he gave me, if things were switched up while I had more time on my hand, and then you looking at them and you like, shit, you got plenty of time on your hand now and you focus on other things.
Right.
Now, imagine that, like the Most High sitting there looking like, look, you can't do well with the little time you got now. Why should I bring an increase to you and you can't manage the time you got now? We need to become a self-sufficient nation. I was hearing what the brother was saying. I just wanted to add.
Cut. Like the man about that, man. You can't put two brothers together and he come to your job because even if you say, you know, you black and you got yourself on your own business, a Negro will come there just because you're black, just like him thinking that he can get away with more than what he did on the other person's job. He comes in ready to argue with you and ready to fight. On a white man's out, yes, sir, I'm sorry. Look, this is what happened, and he'll get him the whole rundown. But when it comes to your brother and sister, he'll come and destroy the man's business and everything. We build with each other so we won't grow and be self-sufficient. Self-sufficient because guess what? We got too many niggers in our nation. Sad, man. We're supposed to be growing with each other, but we growing opposite of each other. Since I really pray we took some from this class so that we may understand that, listen, we have to get rid of that word. The man that kept breaking out. We have to stop being selfish. Be self-sufficient as people. That's going to go out over a lot of our people's head. He's just going to be like, them niggas up there trying to talk and say all the crazy ass shit. What them niggas doing? Say we can't build together. Why? When y'all don't depend on the Lord for real. They make the Lord, they make their lords the other nations. For us and all people in one nation, we gonna serve the Lord. We gonna do as the Father say. It's great classes that the commander had brought out, especially about when the end times come and when all this thing falls. That's why we gotta be self-sufficient. Why he gave us certain skills so that the body must become one.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
What's going on, people? I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm in pain.
Drop something on you?
You know,
Damn, boy. Boy, will you do remove that pain for you, heal anything that you're going through.
shalom, shalom, shalom. Yeah, yeah. Push through. It's not what's that crazy. Beat up. Man, yeah. All right. Shalom, shalom, most high in Christ.
All right, so now most on Christ.
Nah, I ain't get jumped.
Wow. St. John always playing somebody need a hot damn hood.
Man,
Man, if playing, man.
I'm gonna be able to push it. Be able to push through. Also, the we talked about it. We talked about it. I'm trying to remember it. Talked about it. Oh yeah, the One Nation Oxtail dinner. The One Nation Oxtail dinner. I'm gonna try to pull it off. Hopefully this week. I kind of, I'll let y'all know if it's gonna be possible, but we'll try to pull it off.
Lord's will.
Lord's will. Um,
St. John, trying to hug me, I push on my phone.
Lord's will. Yeah, man. All right, so yeah, everything's all right. Everything's all right. We good. Good. So, Lord's will, man. We'll be back tomorrow.
Lord's will. He spell life.
Shalom, most high in Christ. Nite. One Nation.
Yes, sir. Shalom, most high in Christ.
Shalom, most high in Christ.
Yeah, it was a hug. You know what I'm saying? It was one of them big hugs. Somebody all up on me. I got to push on my walk.
Everybody got a hug, group hug. Why you playing? Why you playing, man?
See, it was a group.
Wow, man. Man, tripping, man. Shalom, most high in Christ.